Hey everybody, Chris Pugh here. Wanted to just try to get in a little quick video. It's been a while since I've actually done one. So just wanted to sort of been thinking about ways to incorporate just some, so when I print recordings from a live show, one of the elements of that is always going to be a just a regular two mix, and a lot of times that's just straight off the actual main left-right bus. Something I've been thinking about doing here, and just kind of incorporated a couple little ways to do this in on the SD9 here regarding trying to do that and have a little bit more of sort of a pre-baked and live feel right out of the gate without having to go in and do a whole lot of post work. One of the things that I've got as a total component to my overall live show is I always do put up a pair of crowd mics on with this particular band for ears. So that kind of helps everybody get because they actually run their own monitors with their own devices. Basically, what it can do is help sort of give them a little bit more of an ambient feel, and everyone sort of has a free reign of choice as to how much of that they want. And because we're actually on a copper splitter in this case, I have those, and I do print those coming to me as well. And something I can always do is go back and actually take, like, let's say just the regular left-right stem and then the pair of crowd mics and kind of blend those together. But what that means then after the fact is that got to do a fair bit of not a lot, but just a little bit of tweaking in the file to do that. And as far as if it was something we were going to try to do to actually have a release content for anything, that probably would be the way that I would go about this. However, something that I do like to be able to have as an option is basically something to just sort of have something printed that I can offer up right away in order to basically just sort of hand that off and say, okay, here's a quick mix with the actual the content that was delivered to the left right, plus a little bit of sweet sauce and some crowd mics blended in. And being able to do that, by using the group to group function on the Digico series, this is a really nice feature to be able to actually. Digicos have had this for a long time, but just sort of an example as to how this kind of goes. So I'll just kind of dive right in here. So looking at my group page right off the bat, I've got several groups. For the most part, everything running left to right is basically compilations of inputs that are routed. A couple of these first two are sort of a dry parallel, and then dry and a smash group for drums parallel, and then another one for all the overhead and cymbal mics and stuff like that. I do have one special here that's kind of a detuned toms. All the toms route to that, and then they sort of get a little bit of a treatment, and that's one that I normally don't have. That's this one right here. I don't have it up all the time. I basically will just kind of roll that in for a little bit of almost using it as kind of an effect. And then other groups where things are routed and treated specifically. And then finally, before everything, so the master fader is here, which is the matrix derives off of all of this for the PA drive. And then before, so all of these groups themselves actually route to one of two things. So the inputs and a combination of effects returns are going to route to either band or vocals. So I have overall handles on whether or not I need to basically bring the entire band up or down, or all the vocals up or down, and that ends up coming down to just two faders at the end stage right before everything hits the master bus. So this is the master, and then this one over here, the very last one that's highlighted, this is the one that we're going to look at. So because we've got the ability to have so the master, you'll notice, is assigned to this, I'm calling it stream/crowd. And that one itself is not really going anywhere as far as bus assignments. It does, however, have direct outputs that actually hit the DAW. They can hit physical outputs if I need to use an external recorder or anything like that. But that's sort of what's going on there. And so what is routed there is the master bus, which has everything, all dry process sources and effects returns is ultimately going to hit that. And then that actually gets processed here. These are my primary PA drives, left, right, sub, fill. And then I've got a couple of little zone options here as well, just in case I need to drive any additional delays or other lines or anything like that that would be part of a live PA system. The last two matrices here are used for alignment and measurement purposes, and if you've watched any of my other videos, you've sort of seen how I utilize that. So the other thing, because I'm setting all of these things up as just the actual primary processing and other elements as groups, what I'm able to do is now, so I'm just going to switch over to my page here that actually has this pair of crowd mics. So that's going to be this pair here. So they are stage left and stage right. So for my purposes, since everything is panned in house direction for my outside, I actually pan these, I pan stage left towards my house right and vice versa on the stage right. They're set up that way, so that way anyone operating them on stage can basically pan in accordance with whatever their perspective is, because they're going to be the primary listeners of those particular units. And these particular mics in this file, I normally deploy just a couple of Earthworks SR25, so a couple of really nice cardioid pencil condensers for that. So the mics themselves, basically I just have, I just do a little bit of treatment here. So high pass, low pass, and then just a little bit of sort of a tubby wubby cut filter just to kind of help clean up any of the mud that might exist in that, because they're listening to they can hear a lot of the back pressure off of the stage, and primarily they're hearing a lot of PA and a lot of because that's typically where they're going to fall. They're going to fall usually right underneath or somewhere thereabouts in a PA. And then so these guys are then assigned to this stream bus along with the master. So the master bus and then the stream, the stream or crowd. So this fader then gets basically it's now a print of this and the crowd mics that go here. So not too complex routing. I do actually have one waves insert set up on that and I'm just using the Abbey Road mastering chain. Basically, just kind of gives it a little bit of sauce and some things that I would typically do if I was going to do some stuff in post, but basically it's already done. And I just kind of keep an eye on the overall level, and I'll typically sort of cue that up and just make sure and listen to see if the blend is appropriate with the crowd mics. You do have to be careful, obviously, with phasing there. And one thing I definitely always want to point out on things like this is if you've watched any of my other videos on this stuff, you'll know that I do take the time to manually align everything. And that is due to the fact that I'm using waves inserts. That is an external processing element. And then I'm also using items contained within that SoundGrid infrastructure. So the actual Wave server itself, which lives in this rack here. And then also within that SoundGrid integrated, I'm using these Apogee in order to get some analog pieces inserted. I've got the Creamliner 3 on the just as the final master bus processor, little analog vocal chain. I've actually just recently started using this as instead of the saturation effects. I was using an Alesia Character 500 for a long time, and that was I was just put that on, like, let's say guitar group or something where I just wanted a little bit of analog saturation. With some of the more recent advents of some elements within the Waves infrastructure, I was actually able to really get a very desirable result out of the software side. But this unit is actually it's just stereo hardware reverb unit that I've been working with for a little bit, and so far really liking the results that I'm getting out of that, being able to use this as a primary lead vocal reverb. So interesting stuff there. I won't go too deep into it, but so far I'm really liking that a lot. So like I said before, you do want to make sure and check your alignment on these things, especially because at this point in time, you know, everything, when we do the alignment, obviously we're aligning primarily to the matrix in this case, because that's where all the PA drives are coming from. So we're making sure that everything is exiting. It's inputs through groups, inputs that have no processing, and then effects returns. All that stuff is going to end up hitting this at the same time. Now, typically all that stuff flows through my master bus. But something to keep in mind here is that the by default, those crowd mics that just have nothing but just console processing on them whatsoever, those are going to need to come back, because of wherever we find our whatever our total latent path is, those are going to have to end up coming back usually quite a bit, because they're basically not going through any of the other group processing, because we definitely don't want those hitting the PA under any circumstance whatsoever. That's really the main thing I'm looking to do here, is basically to be able to have sort of in essence, just kind of a pre-baked ready thing. And in this case, like I said, I'm routing the outputs of this group directly to some inputs on the DAW over here. I've just got Reaper pulled up that's got some stems from the last show that I did on this. And so they actually have, you know, I've got a stereo channel set up in the DAW that can basically just take this and just print that as is, with all the processing on it, and then those crowd mics blended. So typically in a live setting, you know, it's usually something that's not perfect right out of the gate, but it is something, you know, you can always cue it up, listen to it a little bit, and you know, do some blending and making sure that everything is sitting fairly nicely, so you can have basically very quickly right out of the gate, just immediately following the show in your hard drive, sort of a already pre-baked kind of live board tape, if you will, with some feel in it. So for the time being, I'm just using one pair of room mics. And when I mentioned that alignment element, I'm primarily referring to the fact that right now, you know, we are looking to just make sure those input sources are going to align with the rest of the console processing that is based on all the other stuff that's taking place. This does not, when you do the alignment on that and when you do the same type of a measurement, it does not take into effect your actual physical placement and the time offsets that would be considered. So that's something else you definitely want to sort of pay attention to, especially if you start using multiple pairs of crowd mics in order to actually get that stuff all sorted out and get it in order, so you can have a good fighting chance of having a good live sounding product and you know, from that point, you know, that does start to get into a little bit of a debate as to, I feel it is definitely crucial to get it aligned and proper at the console level, and then based off of your actual physical placement and things like that, start to make some choices as to how much you want to move those based off of move other things. Let's say if they're at front of house or further out or anything like that, if you're going to be moving things based off of their actual physical placement and time offsets. So there we go. You know, just a little 15-minute talk through. Pretty simple idea, really, but just you know, just something to just an idea and a thought that can kind of really get you in a good spot to have a pretty cool sounding live recording right out of the gate without having to go in and do a whole bunch of extra processing in post. So There you go. Hope you're all doing well, and have a great day. Cheers, everybody.